Okay, so this energy dropped into my field. Oh yeah, welcome. Bye, guys. Welcome everyone to episode 71 of the Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. Let me get back to what I was saying to you. This episode dropped into my field the other day where I saw a concept that says I'm spiritual as fuck. And I'm spiritual as fuck. And the myths about spirituality, and that we can be spiritual and still swear. And we can't just be all love and light inside of the space of and not actually do the work. And I break it down in this podcast. I go into a couple of the key dynamics. And you know what's so funny? There's a part of the podcast that I was trying to remember something and I didn't get it. I just got it now about spiritual advancement. And if you ever hear, so this is really funny. So I'll tell you guys this in the intro, which I think is hilarious. There was a guy that I was messaging with through a dating app. And you guys heard about this if you've listened to other podcasts and in my solo episodes, my random thoughts. And he says to me, oh my God, I'm spiritually advanced. And it's really rare to find someone else that's spiritually advanced. Those that are spiritually advanced do not call themselves spiritually advanced. Okay? I just want to make sure I say that out loud. We do not put a label on our connection to divinity. There's never been a time that I've said I'm spiritually advanced. I've done a lot of work in my energy field and I can hold a potent level of energy, but I would never say I was spiritually advanced. So if you guys are connected to some people and they say that to you and they're like, want to be your mentor and you're thinking about working with them, I would drop back into your field, just like I say at the end of the podcast here, and literally drop in to find out if that is truth. Because those of us that have actually done the work and that are channeling the way that I channel and are moving through do not call us spiritually advanced, although we've been warriors on this earth plane. And, there's a whole bunch of stuff I can say to that. But I'm so excited about this episode. I dive into some concepts. I randomly talk about other things because that's my MO. And I'm just so grateful that you're here. So if you hear anything in this as well, take a photo, snapshot it, tag me on Instagram, tag me in Facebook, send it to a friend, whatever you got to do. But let's get the word out about this too, because I think this is an important conversation that needs to be had. With no further ado, my solo episode 71, Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. This is going to be a really fun episode to record, to listen to again, to be in this space with all of you guys. Because this has been showing up in my field a lot. The conversations of what it means to be spiritual and debunking some of the myths of spirituality that we think we need to be in order to be spiritual. And I was having this conversation with my light language mentor, actually on her podcast that got launched a couple weeks ago on her platform. And we were discussing this, and she even said, she goes, there's a lot of spiritual people out there that believe that you can't drink alcohol in order to be spiritual. And I have brought this through into my field to have this conversation. Because if we think about alcohol, and we think about, and obviously we're jumping right into this episode real quick into this space of time. If we think about alcohol, it is an actual poison for the body and it has a low vibration. And if you're drinking it consistently in your life, then most likely you are having to remove that energy consistently all the time so that you can recalibrate back into your normal energetic capacity. And for those of us that do a lot of spiritual work like channeling and psychic work and energy clearing and healing and multidimensional quantum work, it's hard as fuck as it is to keep our energy field clear. Never mind when we play in different mechanisms like alcohol inside the space. Now, I'm not here to knock anyone. I'm not here to step into the space of like saying it's bad for you to drink. But she's like, Colleen, like every so often I have a drink and I feel like I can transmute that energy. And I go, that is a real thing. And it's true that we actually can step into the space and we can actually transmute the energy. But if we're consistently doing it all the time, then we're up against these choices in the human world that don't actually need to be there. They're part of a social conditioning that we've been brought up into the space of time. And a lot of people would argue that to be like, well, Jesus gave us wine. Now, I would beg to differ. Like, if we actually went back into the time of when Jesus worked the land, maybe he did turn wine into water, and maybe, or water into wine. And maybe he actually, yeah, exactly. And maybe he actually, this is so funny because it's dropping into my ear. Maybe he actually turned wine into water and not water into wine. And it was the Catholic Church that wanted more people drinking to diminish the energy and calibration of things. this is something to consider. And obviously, you guys can feel out. You guys could do whatever you want with this in connection with it. And guys, I every so often have a drink. However, my physical form is refusing to let me calibrate in that energy any longer. Literally, I wake up the next day, I have one beverage, and I feel like shards of glass are in my stomach. Like I am not okay drinking alcohol. And I've almost come to the realization that this is going to be a thing for me, even though I love wine. And even though I love espresso martinis, and even though, we go out for dinner, I might want a margarita, I've come to realize like what is the most important thing. And right now in my calibration, the most important thing for me is getting my body physical form into alignment so that I can transmute energy quicker and ascend more and channel in more light codes and hold more energetic capacity. So I'm healing a lot of wounds right now inside of my field from when I was younger. Like literally I'm working with like an energy slash athletic therapist slash I don't even know what to call her, where we're going deep into like accidents when I was 15, 16 years old, me feeling unworthy, why I carry armor around my body form, not even energetically, but like as like I'm stiff everywhere. And it's not because I've got a lot of muscle mass, although that could be a thing, but it's not. This is actually my body tightening up. So allowing it to expand, allowing me to flow more in my feminine embodiment and movement inside of the space. And alcohol doesn't serve this next level of my world at this moment of time. Will it down the road? I don't know. But after Christmas, I feel, because I'm going to be having Baileys and coffee at Christmas for sure. Like that's like a given. I feel like I'm going to be dismantling all of it. Now, most of this year, I like at least 6 months out of the year, I didn't drink anything at all. And I'm not saying that this is a thing in my life, but sometimes it is a thing in my life, and I'm watching the vibration move through my field. So the first thing is that we can't drink alcohol. Okay. That's the first spiritual debunking, the myth that I want to bring into your field. The next one is, and these are so funny. I actually wrote notes on it because it's so good, that spiritual people don't swear. And this is a fucking funny one, as I swear, inside of the space, because most people get triggered and they think that we're channeling negative energy when we swear, that it's a low vibration. When actually, whatever energy you put onto things is whatever energy is emitted through things. That's how the energetic capacity works. That's how we step into the fields of awareness. That's how we move through energy. So whatever meaning you give to something is what the meaning is. So there's some people out there that believe in this dynamic that when someone swears, they are dropping their vibration. Where in my world, I am a very spiritual person. I do a lot of spiritual practices. I hold a lot of energy. My job on earth is as a spiritual guide and a soul mission activator. I swear all the time. I write it in scripture consistently in my world, posts, in content, how I show up in life. And actually, I hold a super high level of vibration and I can still hold it when I swear. It's when the person has a certain association with swearing and they don't own their power in it, where the vibration drops. And when they don't step in fully embodied and like literally pull the energy through their body and own who they are inside of the space on how they speak, how they show up in life, how they do life, that's where the distortion comes into play. So if I own all that I am and own all of my power inside of this space and I step in full bloom, boom, here are the things, I'm owning my power. Therefore, when I swear, I'm owning my dynamic, right? So this is what to consider when you're doing anything, when you're living in your belief system, when you're stepping into values, when you're putting something into the world, when you are stepping into photography and your videos and your content and how you show up in life and your relationships and your job. If you are not owning your power, which we should be doing always, no matter how we feel, and I'm not talking about pretending to be something, I'm talking about making choices in our power, even if we are in lack or scarcity or struggle, even if you don't have money in your bank account, you are making a choice. I choose right now at this moment of time to move this energy through. What are my choices right now with this level of life that I'm at, right? When you're not owning your power and that distortion is created in the world. But I tell this story often and a lot of you guys have heard it, but some of you guys may be new to this podcast right now and never met me before. Welcome, by the way. I had a woman one time drop into my DMs telling me that I'm channeling the devil every time I swear. So this is one of the reasons how this has come up inside the space of is like every single one of us has our own belief system, but I am not less spiritual than you because I choose to swear. Now, if I did it in the wrong vibration where I drop my energy or I'm not in the clarity of light when I move through it, totally game on. But I am. And I watch my energy field and I know who's coming into my mechanism and I know who's in my field of awareness when I'm speaking into the world. So that's one thing. What was the other thing that just dropped in while I was just saying this to you? And I'm like, oh my God, I should have wrote it down, or I should have spoke it out loud to you guys because I just fucking forgot. Hopefully it'll come back into my field. Okay. It's going to take years for change. Let's bust open this spiritual myth. Like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 14 years ago, like I started doing my spiritual work almost 15 years ago now, like 15 years completed in the space of like 14 and a half years it's been since I started actually working with a one-to-one mentor and actually expanding my energy and actually trusting and talking to my guides and doing energy work and all the things that I've done. Past life regressions, I've done so much clearing, so many different modalities and ways. And when I started actually my journey of taking spiritual courses was 14 years ago. And back then we were working in a more density energy of remembering. And what I mean by that is that we always had access to the veils. We always had access to the other side. We always had access to our guides and dimensional energy, but it took us a little while longer to get into it. When we moved into the age of Aquarius is when the world shifted in energetics and the veils became thinner, where we were then tapping into all these dimensional past lives, where it started all coming forward in these movements of energy into the world. And we have access now to, and we always did, but it's like we believe it now to be true, and it actually is. We have access now to being able to immediately shift things in real time. And you know what? I saw a post today by Joe Dispenza that says, the body can heal itself by thought alone. And this is the calibration we're working within. There's still some people in the old belief structure and old belief system that are in the space of, it's going to take you forever. It's going to take you forever to step into this. It's going to take you all this time, and you're going to have to do affirmations, and you're going to have to step into the space, and you're going to have to keep clearing your energy, and you're going to have to meditate for hours a day. That is actually one of the other spiritual debunkings that I want to talk to you about. This all plays out in the same mechanism energy. We are dealing with quantum timelines right now and being able to shift timelines in quantum energy, which means it doesn't happen in linear time. It happens in the quantum, which means there is no linear time in the quantum. So therefore, we make a decision. The decision is laid. Now, we have to work within the Earth's linear pathway as we move through and the density in our bodies and in our minds, meaning if you don't believe that $1,000 can land in your space in 1 hour from now, then it never will, no matter how much you quantumly energize that thought. Because in your body, you don't feel like that can happen. Therefore, it won't happen. But if you believe that you can manifest within 1 hour of time $1,000, whether it comes in through a happenstance, someone sends it to you, you get a credit for something, whatever the dynamic of that is moving through your field, and you really believe that, it will happen. But we've got to be all on board with all of this dimensional energy moving through us. And we are at a timeline right now where we can make changes like this. And I'm talking about in real time. Now, some of us are learning through lessons, and sometimes working within that is going to take us dismantling all the shit that we think we know to be true and really working within a purity of frequency. I was talking to a friend of mine today, and I said to her, like, I am watching my own self in life, the thoughts, how I feel like today. So I'm recording this on a Sunday because I leave tomorrow for Winnipeg, and I'm not bringing my microphone to Winnipeg. I'm just like, I'm not having it. So this podcast comes out on the Friday, right? So I'm doing it in advance, and then I'll be home next week to record the one for the next avenue. But we were talking today, and it was the grand opening today of our healing space, is what we're calling it, in Kia Ora, which is a little like culmination of practices and practitioners. We have a restaurant there. That's where the shala is that I go do yoga. It's in Dominicalito in Costa Rica. And we're opening up a space called the Healing Space. And I'm going to be doing real-time work past life healing, ancestral healing lineage, energy work. I'm also going to be promoting getting hired for retreats to do healing circles and all this kind of stuff, which is actually really kind of cool. But I have forgotten what it's like to be a human in an environment where I actually have to meet people and be in this relationship. And I've gotten so bad at remembering names, like, because I haven't been present in this real time with humans. And I used to remember everybody's name. I could remember everybody's name. Now I can't even hold it in my brain. And I'm like, oh my God. So I've got to recalibrate myself to be able to be in the public with people, because I have a service now that requires them to come into my field. And it's not just me about having a space so I can go do podcast recordings at it, which I might end up doing. It's hard to say what might happen through that avenue, but it's actually for a space to do live sessions. Plus, we're coming into high season here for the next 4 months, and people come to Costa Rica to heal. This makes so much sense. But I'm like, fuck. So I'm watching myself in real time, having to shift a calibration in frequency. What am I thinking about? What's showing up through my field? What is in the possibility of this? Why am I minimizing certain things in my world? Why am I not expanding? And I am watching this move. And it's so interesting to see, because I understand that we are in a timeline collapse right now, and that we get to choose every single moment of our time how we move through. Now, this may be exhausting to some of you. All we have to keep remembering is the calibration we want to work within. And I am teaching a free masterclass live at the end of December called Calibration. If you feel inclined for that, I'm going to throw the link up in the show notes so you can register to come. It's free. It's 5 days. And I'm going to be moving through the energy of calibrating into new life, new energy, new dynamics of our world, how to, movement of this, literally pulling it all apart. So people can walk out of this 5-day masterclass and be like, oh, I'm all in. This is it. This is where I want to be. This is the dynamics of this. This is what we're doing in life. Right. And I want it to be juicy, and I want it to be fulfilled, and I want it to flow inside of your space. But we are at this moment of time where the myths say it's going to take you forever, and it's not. The second you make a choice and a decision, the energy changes. Now we've got to back all of that up with the rest of our being to step into that space and move it through. Right? Super cool. And the same thing happens with meditating. Okay, so let's talk about that, because I did mention that, and that is one of the key things. Some of us believe and think that we need to be hours on end in meditation in order to get the answers. When if you're working in quantum time, you could literally close your eyes right now and drop into yourself and get the answers in real time. Sometimes we need to go in a bit deeper, to go on an experience and go do something and go heal something inside of the space. But in real time, the more we work our connection with divine, and the more we work our connection within ourselves, the more the connection strengthens. The more we get to move through, the more we feel that connection within ourselves. And that's a powerful, powerful place to be. Now, granted, sometimes we need to go into transmissions and drop in and be all in that space and like be juicified in that energy. Totally, totally get it. But it's not always. And it's not every day. And it's not all day long. Right? And it's like sometimes I feel like humanity is getting lost in this, thinking that they have to, when you could take 10 minutes a day to be quiet and still, you are making deep rooted connections within yourself to open and expand things. So cool beans, people, cool beans. Okay, what else do I got? All spiritual people are vegans. Oh my God. This is one that I'm going to fucking ruffle some feathers here. So back a few years ago, when I was going through one of the many spiritual awakening pathways I was on, I felt the call to go into veganism. I did it for 1 month in February, gained all this weight. My body was so bloated and so misaligned that even if I tried to like channel in the purity of what I do now, I wouldn't have been able to hold it. And this is a thing that there's a lot of spiritual people out there that think you need to be a vegan in order to be spiritual because of the connection to animals. When I dropped in to talk to the cows. Now, granted, I'm not in India and they're not a sacred deity like they are in India, here in Canada, Costa Rica, North America. But I went and talked to the cows, and here's what the cow said to me. Colleen, we are on Earth so humans can eat us. Period. That's why they are here. Okay? The same thing with lambs and the same thing with pigs. Chickens too. is what I'm being told. All of our meat have been put on earth for us to eat. And it's actually in connection with a certain vibration. Now, not everyone needs to be a carnivore. Not everyone needs to eat meat. However, our physical forms have actually been built on an infrastructure of eating protein, meat, not actual plants like we've planted. Broccoli, cauliflower, all these things have been manufactured by humans to produce a certain food. Now, you can go down any rabbit hole that you want, but there's a lot of vegetables out there that are actually really bad for the human form that a lot of people are eating. They have protection mechanisms on them to actually poison the human body, but we keep eating them because somewhere down the line, someone told us to eat your vegetables. Fruit is a whole other vibration. It's grown from the earth. Fruit trees are actually native to the lands. Some guy just didn't create an orange tree and decide to plant it one day. We came to earth and they were here. Which means if we think about that in connection to energy, the earth gave us them. And then God planted, or the universe planted, animals for us to eat. Whatever way you choose to eat food is up to you. Intuitive eating is a real thing. But a lot of people are out there forcing a concept onto other people, saying that they have to in order to be, which is not true. You can, and yeah, meat is very grounding for the body. But here's the deal. You can still channel when you eat meat. I eat raw dairy. You can still channel when you eat raw dairy. In fact, my vibration in my body is so much more potent through my field because I'm not eating distorted food for my body. It's challenging when I go to North America. You know, I may be staying in Canada till the 20th, and I don't want to because that's 11 days. Is it? No, 9 days. Still, that's way too long. That's long enough. Of staying in Canada and battling the energy. When you get out, you understand. For those of you guys that are in there, you may be like, I don't get it. Oh, you will once you leave. And once you start to root into somewhere else, you're like, holy shit. Right? And holding that space and capacity for certain things. I haven't booked my return flight yet, in case you're like, aren't you? No, I haven't booked my return flight yet. That's a whole other Colleen thingamajigger. Moving through the collective energy. But I just want you to consider this, that you do not have to be a vegan to be spiritual. I want to bust open the myth of all love and light. And some of you guys are probably going to be like fucking laughing already about this. Our spiritual advancement and evolution and ascension process, which means going inward, not outward, not upward, it's inward, is not about just love and light. Okay? We go through shitstorms of fucking shadow work. And one of the myths I also want to talk about is spiritual bypassing. If you are a person or you know of people that have never actually gone into shadow work and that have surface grazed shadow work and haven't gone into the depths of them to go discover, to go lean into, to go dismantle, to go face their fucking fears that I'm not enough, that I'm not worthy, that I can't hold it, that this mission isn't mine, that all the bullshit, they are spiritual bypassing. I did it for a lot of years. That's how I know. Because I thought I was. I thought, yeah, I got that covered. Yeah, I just did a clearing on that. Yeah. Fuck. Until I actually started going into the depthful work and into the darkness within me. You know, ayahuasca brought out a phenomenal experience of like this selfish energy inside of me. And I went, holy fuck, most of my life, this is what I've been living in. And I saw it through her eyes and I went, shit. And I'm not saying everyone has to do a plant medicine experience. But here's something to consider is that when you sit with yourself and your shadows and you honor the actions you take, the karmic debt you're playing out, the bitch archetype that you've been most of your life, you've got to swallow a fucking pill. And that pill some days fucking sucks. And sometimes we're in the thick of it and we're in the depths of the sadness and we're in the depths of the grief and we're in the shitstorms of spaces. But all of that is necessary and needed for our evolution. We cannot shine brighter until we do the work. We can't. And some of us are avoiding it. And trust me, I've fucking avoided it too. I've stepped into this space and like not addressed certain stuff and not stepped into the dynamics of things and avoided completely certain aspects of things. And I'm just like, fuck. I get it and I understand and I feel you. I feel you. I'm here at this moment of time to really speak into this inside of your space, to speak into this inside of this dynamic of things, for us to be able to feel this. If you are mentoring or thinking about taking a program with someone in the spiritual capacity and they are not talking about shadow work, the deep rooted shit, and they have not voiced certain aspects, and if you ask them a question about what was the last thing that they were dealing with inside of themselves and they give you a certain surface level answer, they are spiritual bypassing, my friend, and this is happening so fucking much in the collective right now. And a lot of spiritual gurus out there are doing the same thing. They're like, just step into new earth. It's all about the new earth. It's all about this. And it's like, fuck. Inside of you is an onion that we're opening. And every layer we keep peeling back, we're getting into new layers and new layers and new layers. And sometimes we're like, yes, it's getting easier. Here's where it gets easier in awareness. The journey will continue. We are on a duality earth experience in our own earth bubble, whether it's round or flat, nobody really knows. And we are maneuvering through this experience. It's our game. But we've got to deal with our shit. That's part of this whole mechanism. If we're not dealing with our shit, then we're actually bypassing the real work. It's going to come up anyways because you made a contract to be here. You made a contract. You made a decision. Before you jumped into this body, you said, sign me up. And you signed the dotted line and you said, I commit to this and here I am. You can't get out of your contract. So whether you avoid it and avoid it and avoid it and avoid it, which a lot of us do, which is amazing in this perspective of it, I'm not calling you out. Well, I am, maybe. It's going to come back around no matter what. So why not jump onto the plane with it, work with it, do the fucking work so that it doesn't get harder. It does get harder if you avoid it. It does. And it fucking sucks. And it's not easy. It's not easy. What else do I want to say? Okay, that is all that I've written down in my notes to speak about in connection with that. But yeah, I just am like, When someone says to you, this is the only way, I want you to really sit with that and make sure that that's your truth. Because there's a lot of information in the world. There's a lot of stuff moving through, and we're seeing it on both sides. Our number one job is to figure out our truth. What feels good for you? And maybe that's going with all these people over here, but maybe that's not. And maybe today, when you really align in that, it's like over here, Lone Ranger. But once you lean into the Lone Ranger side, guess what starts to happen? You find other Lone Rangers. And then you no longer are alone because you are in a vibration of your truth. And until you get to that point of time over here, you can't find your people. So there was a moment in time, and you guys know that I speak openly about all different kinds of stuff. There was a moment in time back in 2021 where, you know, the whole dynamic was happening in the world. The whole concept of these jabs were really, really out there. Most of the population that didn't get the jabs were being ostracized. They couldn't fly on planes in Canada. They couldn't go to restaurants. They couldn't do all these things. My mom's family, so my parents are not jabbed and very open about not being jabbed. There came a point in that year where my mom almost caved. Now, I need to give you guys an explanation. My mom was that person that sent you 500 million videos every day, going down fucking rabbit holes, okay? And here's what I said to my mom. At one point, I was like, Mom, I'm not watching your fucking videos. You need to understand that I'm the one dying on the hill and I'm not conforming to anything the government says, okay? Like, I wasn't conforming from the beginning. I saw through all of it all the time. I don't need to be convinced of things. I don't even need to see any of the videos of how bad some shit is or how this is happening or I don't need to see any of it. I already know what the truth is. I feel the truth. I'm good. Okay. So my mom was that woman. Then all of a sudden there came this time and I was on a call with her and she broke down. I can't handle it, Colleen. I think we're just going to go get this done. And I was like, Mom, smack fucking around. I know I'm your daughter. And I know that you think that you know more than me. That's what I said to her. And I know that you think that you have to hold a certain presence in my world. But I don't have to be your daughter in this moment of time. I can be your friend. And you are not, after all that work, going to just go submit because you're feeling alone, because you haven't opened up your space to call in new people, because you're still trying to fit into your old box of all these other people that are ostracizing you. There's people in your life. Who are they? That are also not vaccinated. Who are they? Oh, well, this person. Oh, great. Go hang out with them. So here's what happened. They did. And then they met another couple. And then they met another couple. And now all of a sudden they had these couples. And they would start to visit them as friends. And at the time you weren't allowed in Winnipeg to go to other people's homes. So they would literally open up their garage, let my parents' car into the garage, close their garage, and then my parents would get out of their car and stay at their place. And then the same thing would happen, that they would leave. And the cops would actually stop people on the road sometimes at night to be like, where are you coming from? Why are you in your vehicle? It's crazy, right? This is what Canada was like back then. For us, that didn't, like the whole entire system was all fucked up. So it came down to this space that my parents now have like, I think 70 people, all of them non-jabbed, all of them in the space of like freedom. They all go to the rallies together and all do the things together and they all have a common thing. So my mom says to me today, I'm on a call with her and I'm headed back to Winnipeg and they have a dinner on the Friday night that I'm there. And she's like, everybody's so excited to meet you. And oh my God, okay, remember that guy that wrote that article that did this thing that he was this, da, 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 da. He can't wait to meet you, Colleen. You're going to meet him. It's going to be like, and I'm like, great. Right. And I'm like, okay, Mom, this is so good. I'm super excited. Right. And I don't need the validation from others because I'm super secure in who I am. And I've done a lot of work on this. I know my value system, but I'm going into this space to appease my parents. I'm going to be like this little like toy that walks in, the daughter from Costa Rica, you know, and all the storyline of what that actually means and what that means for them. And I'll play the role inside of this space of not conforming though. They're all in the same type of value system. A lot of them, though, are like really far out here than me. I'm a back end trailblazer. And what that means is like podcasting like this, speaking into you to own your power. I have no judgment on whatever decisions people make in their lives. And I've said this numerous times. I am very clear about truth. But why I say this to you today is that if my parents would have conformed to a value system and a belief system that they didn't believe, it would have created a distortion inside of their field and they would have conformed to meet other people's obligations. Instead, they stepped in over here and now have this collective of people. You know, what's really funny is like my mom's entertaining and I know she's never going to listen to this podcast. And if she does, then maybe she'll hear something in connection with this. But I literally was talking to her today. I'm like, Mom, do you know that my album's going to be released in January? She's never heard a song because when I sent her the song, she couldn't play it. And I was like, yeah, typical my mother's response. And there's this energy within our fields. Okay. It's always been battling. So here's what she said to me. Oh, well, the recording artist, this person, she's a recording artist and she's a singer. She's going to be there. So you need to be ready to sing. And I was like, I'm always ready to sing, you know? And I already got the download the other day that I was going to be singing. And I knew I was going to be singing because the second they find out I have an album, I'm going to be put on the spot, even though my album isn't fucking singing, it's light language. However, I can channel in a frequency to match a vibration to hold a certain level of stuff. And it's just interesting to watch. Like she just wanted to keep telling me about all these people that are doing these things when she doesn't even recognize the stuff that I do. Because my mom is in competition with me without her knowing that she is. And it's just interesting to watch. And although I love and appreciate my parents in my life, it's just interesting to see. So I know that I digressed and I know I brought us on another pathway, but the important part was holding yourself and your energy trusting your own vibration, trusting yourself to show up, trusting what's dropping in, even if for a while you got to move to this side because that's where your truth is. Follow that. You may not do what the masses do, nor should you actually, because most likely you're opposing what is actually being called forward of you. Trust in the pathway, trust in your own self. And that's about all I got. If you guys got more that you want me to speak to, or you have questions about this, put it in the comments. Let me know. Send me a DM on Instagram. I'd love to just hear what you want me to debunk, and maybe we can do another one. A couple of the episodes coming out later this month, like my solo episodes, are going to be me talking about the year of 2023 and what transpired for me and some of the key learnings that I brought forward. And I'm going to encourage all of you guys to do this kind of reflection. The program I'm leading starting this week coming up, it will be part of the asset inside of there, but it's just going to be, it's a really cool space for you to be in, to see where did you land this year? What does this look like for you? What does this feel like for you? And allow yourself to go there. So I love and appreciate all of you. And thank you again for being here on the podcast and all of this juicy and amazingness. And I'll see you guys all again soon. Have a great day.